everyone. I can get you all up my phone. You can chat. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Meg Williams here.
First of all, why has man given such importance to pleasure?
Say hello, let me know who's here.
Why man throughout the world
Share this conversation with friends so we can all be a part of this powerful conversation.
pursuing everlasting pleasure.
Start in just a minute. Let everyone hop on. Again, say hello. Let me know how everyone's doing. Talking today about how we can open to self-pleasure practices. Zoom. Hey, Tiffany. So happy you're here. Yay, yay, yay. Turn off the music. You know, I could sit and listen to this all day, but let's jump in. Okay. So, welcome to Wednesday's training. And like I mentioned just a moment ago, today what we are diving into is how to tap into self-pleasure practices. And I'm going to speak to three specific ways in which you can welcome these practices into your life. And there's so much that I can say to this, so much. This is definitely more than a 1 hour conversation, but I'm just bringing in what really resonated with me today and what I truly think will resonate with you no matter where you are in your exploration of your own sexuality, as well as where you are in regards to your comfort. And this is such a big piece. So this is what I really wanted to bring in because as I talk to clients, as I connect with new and potential clients, this is often what I really hear is there's a spectrum. There's such a spectrum in which you can enter into the navigation of this realm of navigating into exploring your Yoni practices and everything in between. So this is what I really wanted to cover was 3 ways to welcome this in and sort of really from wherever you are on that spectrum. So my name is Meg Williams, and I am a sacred pleasure and embodiment coach, or sacred sensual embodiment coach. And this is what I talk about. Really, the whole the intention of these conversations is to take what is generally uncomfortable for so many people because of the conditioning that we've been exposed to for pretty much our entire lives. And so taking this and making it comfortable. So the more that we talk about it, the more safe we feel. The more that we talk about it, the more that we understand. The more that we talk about, we are freeing up that weight and that space within our being so that we feel healthy, so that we feel our vital energy, so that we feel in connection to our womb, which is like the epicenter of our creative portal in this life, right? It is the center of all creation, mother of all life, not just the life that we bring in. We're talking about the mother of all life, of our entire life. So this is a really beautiful piece to just take. I'm going to speak to that more later on, but take a look at this, right? How in connection do you feel to your womb? Because this is a direct reflection of likely how in connection you feel to your life, right? All areas of your life. So if you can just even just feeling into that, it's like, yeah, I am a little bit resistant. Yeah, I don't do a lot of this, or I don't like to explore that. And if you can see where there's areas where you're already closed off to, this is a really beautiful way to start to see, oh, wow, this is reflecting that there are definitely potentially areas in my life that I'm remaining closed off to. And this is why we have these conversations, is because I want you to be experiencing the fullness of your life. I don't want you to feel restraint. I don't want you to be playing small. I don't want you to be hiding. I want you to comfortably be able to move through your life, showing up and expressing completely as the woman that you are meant to be here expressing as in your fullness. So this is why it's so important. And then not only as we do this for ourselves, so many of us who are mothers, who are sisters, uh, daughters even, we're able to then begin to reflect this into those lives around us, to those people who are important to us. And this is how we begin to make massive impact in the world, within our communities, within our relationships. So, all right. So like I was saying, today, this conversation about how to gently and lovingly welcome self-pleasure practices into your life. And as I mentioned, this really depends on where you are sitting with your comfort level. I also really love talking about this because I'm speaking about sacred sex. For many people, what we have been exposed to is the conditioning around sexuality. This, once you dive into the exploration, and this is the thing too, is these conversations, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? This is, and so if, as we go through these conversations, if these feel very powerful for you, if a lot of this is resonating and you're going, oh my God, like I'm getting so much out of this, if this is how you're feeling just from these conversations alone, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, there is so much more. There is so much more depth of in terms of exploration and opening to our awareness, to our understanding, to that connection with our bodies. When people come through my programs. So I'm going to celebrate how much comes through in these conversations, but I just really want to highlight, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Hi, Heidi. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for joining. Okay. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. And so what we're looking at is, like I said, based on conditioning, a lot of our perceptions, especially when people hear, oh, you're a sexuality coach, or oh, you work with sexual health and all of this. A lot of people will go, oh my gosh, I'm so not open to that realm. But that is because of the conditioning, and what we're connected to generally for most of our life is this really superficial understanding of sexuality. What our conversations are about is coming back to this sacred awareness, to this deep reverence of our body, of this intentional practice. And this goes back, I just want to really anchor in the reverence of these practices, right? These are, if you can feel it in your bones, if you feel it in your blood, it is because we have walked this path. And again, just talking about the tip of the iceberg, in terms of practices that we have experienced in this lifetime. No, not this lifetime, in past lifetimes that we feel in our bodies in this lifetime, right? That of the pleasure priestess. I'm talking experiences and rituals and temple practices from from Egypt, from Greece, you know, where love and passion and sensuality and reverence was just a way of being. And I'm not just talking those cultures. And I think I don't need to speak more into it, because if you know, you just know, you feel it in your body. And so this is that sacredness that we're coming back to, and this is what we're connecting to. And this is, as this remembrance surfaces for you, this is what moves through you and what you are then also emanating and radiating into the world. So where you feel comfortable coming into this conversation or coming into these practices often depends on your conditioning, your awareness around the conditioning, your awareness around what your thoughts are about sexuality, what your feelings are about sexuality. A lot of this has to do and depend upon the level of trauma that you've gone through, the level of shame that you're carrying. And I want you to know that you're not alone, right? So I would reason to say that every single person on this planet is going to have some form of traumatic experience around their sexuality. And so this is why it's so important to talk about, is because when it is this common, when we're talking about every single person that's had exposure to this, every single person who, because of the conditioning, because of our experiences, and because it's been something that we've been told that we can't talk about, it's something that we often push away, that we resist, that we hide from, that we keep tucked away in these back, dusty, dark, cobwebby corners. And like I said, I want every single one of you to be flourishing, to be radiating, to be oozing your power, your eminence. And so we need to talk about this so that everyone can get comfortable and bring all of this, because it's all beautiful, right? None of this is a mistake. None of this is shame. None of this is sinful, because you have grown and you have learned from it. So we actually, it's time to feel safe in bringing this to the forefront, and to witness it and to examine it and to learn even more from it. And when you can, you know, think of when you're in a crowd and you know that everyone around you is likely carrying this in their depths of being, and just imagine, you know, that it's in our power to just raise that frequency, just in knowing that we understand and that this is safe. And so this is why I'm here. This is why we come together for these conversations. Sunshine's just asking, I'm streaming them to YouTube. So the YouTube link is in the Facebook group, and I will put the replay up. I've changed things up a little bit. So I'm glad you found me on Zoom. Okay. And so this tends to have to do with the sort of trauma and the shame that you have been through. And this can be trauma in terms of sexual abuse, in terms of rape, in terms of fertility issues, miscarriage. It could be in terms of health issues like endometriosis, so severe menstrual pain, abnormal pap smears, right? We're talking about like trauma can come from anywhere. And so where you are feeling comfortable to come into the conversation depends often on where you are in that journey, how much healing you've done around it. And for example, I just had a connect call with someone today, and this is exactly what she said, this is so what I need to come into. I'm so ready to go here. But she very openly, you know, had said, I really feel though, like I'm going to have to like graduate through levels. I'm so not comfortable. This is not a safe topic for me to talk about in groups yet. And, you know, we even talked about, this is the power of group, of being in a group as you go through this exploration, is to be able to witness and hear other women share their stories, is that moment where we all get to go, oh my gosh, I'm so not alone, which is powerful, which is so powerful. And it initiates also that depth of sisterhood, which is something that we're really seeing. And again, comes back really deeply through that reverence, through those weaving lines of blood and energy, like I said, from, millennia ago. Um, and I'm talking about like ancient Egypt and Greece, but I was just reading an article about how the very first pleasure tool was found like 28,000 years ago. 28,000 years ago, women were using pleasure tools for stimulation. So, just a really another way to say this is something that's always been spoken about, something that's always been practiced, and I love that we get to come together now speaking about it. So you may not be comfortable yet. And this is why also you'll see through my 1-year program, the Pleasure Prophecy, it is built progressively. A lot of my programs go from let's just go through and expand. It's like a re-education and expanding our awareness and understanding and knowing our body into pleasure practices and into also the ways where you can actually begin, as whatever awakens for you, that you are then, as a sacred ambassador of wisdom, able to get this out to the people around you who need to hear your medicine. So some women are ready to dive right in to the sacred sex rituals and practices. Some women need to learn to love themselves completely first. So, and this is the other piece, this whole journey can begin from wherever you are at, right? There is no right or wrong. There's no, I'm not ready yet. There, you might feel like that, but there is no, you're not ready yet, because there is no right or wrong. There is no beginning. There is no end. Highlight that there is no end. We are always learning and expanding. And, I've just recently gone through just such deep exhilaration and excitement, and also realizing, what my ceiling and boundaries has been, and just the excitement and feeling into that stretch, right? Like, we often shy away and we resist the stretch, but boy, is it exciting when we move through that stretch. And so today, talking about this, how to begin welcoming a pleasure practice, is a really beautiful opportunity to lean into that stretch from wherever you are. So self-pleasuring practices, there is no right or wrong. The point is from moving from uncomfortable to comfortable, from trauma to pleasure. And self-pleasuring practices really depend on, first and foremost, and this is why every single one of my programs starts off with this module, is that we look at our cultural conditioning to identify what beliefs are programmed into our belief systems. And then what I follow that up with right away is my astral weaving sessions, where I use an intuitive breakthrough method, which is basically like a holistic counseling session where we trace back to the root of your beliefs and rewrite them from a place of love and compassion, right? So this is starting to go, oh my gosh, this is a belief. I see it now, because this is the thing too, is a lot of the times they're unconscious and we're just carrying that density in our bodies. And then we can actually get intentional. This is my truth. This is actually what I align with. And then you begin aligning with that. And this is a big piece too with the power of pleasure, is because it is a frequency. It is a high frequency sensation. And so the more that we can align with this high frequency experience, especially high level orgasms, the more that you are aligning with your true nature, with your power, with your vitality. So we really, really want to embrace this. And so this is where we begin with our pleasure practices. So the very first place that I want to start with is this beautiful TLC space. So where we really begin with just tender love and care. So, right, if you are in a place where you are still healing, a place where you are still feeling like you're carrying deep shame, deep judgment, like I had mentioned, sexual assault, rape, abusive relationships, if you're going, if you're someone who's gone through body image disorders, you might not be in a place where you are feeling in love with yourself. And it might feel really, really hard to even be able to think of coming to a pleasure practice. And I just want to say, I see you, I witness you, I honor you for everything that you've gone through. And I see you and I celebrate for the places in which you were desiring to go. You are not alone. You are not alone. I'm looking at that list, and I want you to know that I can fairly say that I have experienced every single one of those myself. So I'm sending you so much love and compassion. So if you're at a place where you're finding like you're not able to access your orgasm, this is a really tough place. This is a deep place to begin. And I also just want to celebrate and say this is really exciting, right? Because often it feels like this is a terrible place to be. Like I'm never going to be able to get, I've worked with women who've said, I never, for the depths of trauma that they've gone through, they never thought they were ever going to be able to reconnect with pleasure again. And guess what? They have. In their own unique ways, they have figured out where they need to be right now in infusing their life and their experience back with pleasure and letting it grow from there. So if you can't access your orgasm, this is very similar to like our orgasms are like a healthy diet and a proper night's sleep. Sorry, I'm going to rephrase that one more time. Our high level orgasms are just like having a healthy diet or a proper night's sleep. So just think for a second, when you lose sleep, when you lose your appetite, tends to be that we are going through some form of grief, anxiety, depression, right? It's like when I'm so upset I can't eat. My mind is just, I'm in so much sorrow, I can't sleep. And so this is the same thing. If you're not able to access your orgasm, it is an indicator of a deeper problem. And so this is a really great thing to become aware of, because this is another way that we can, our body communicates with us. And like I just said earlier, your Yoni is the epicenter of creation, the mother of all life. And she has a powerful voice and a powerful communication with you. Are you communicating with her? Are you in right relationship with her? Because if there is no communication, if you're not listening, if you're not tapped in, if you're not finding that joy and pleasure yet, this makes a lot of sense. It's just like any other relationship. So these are indicators, if you're not able to access your orgasm, that something is off, which is beautiful. It's another place where you're able to look for feedback. And once you can receive feedback, then you can begin to explore and open and discover how to move through it. So I really just want to say this again. Your womb is the epicenter of creation, the mother of all life. Often when we hear that, we think, oh yeah, this is where we are able to bring life into the world. I'm talking not just another life, all life, of your whole life, of you, of you. This is the epicenter of you. This is where soul enters through your body to move through your body, beyond your body into your world. So if you're not in good relationship with her, you are not in a full relationship with your whole life. And this is, I mean, I'm just repeating myself at this point, but this is, like I said, if there's just, if there's fractals of your sexuality that have been, put away, I'm just going to put that over here for now, keep it out of sight. Then there's pieces, really beautiful, deep, expansive pieces of your life that you're also saying, this huge whole experience that could be really beautiful and full of pleasure, I'm just going to actually put that over here. I don't want to experience that part of life. No one wants to say that. And I don't want you to ever think that that's okay, because again, you're here to be living your life in full expression of who you are. So embrace it all. And this is that idea of pleasure. Our pleasure is so expansive. It's creating that space in our bodies, where it's all just a frequency. If we're able to create a spacious experience in our body, then we're able to create the spacious experience in our life. Yes, and I love that. And that's so. Just a comment coming through that I'm able to access the orgasm. For me, it's mostly finding the energy or desire to do that regularly that stops you. I'm not going to go so much into that today, but when I do go through my orgasm module in Sex Ed 101, this is a big piece. So I will touch on this because thank you so much for bringing that up. Is that there are high level orgasms and low level orgasms. I teach from, there's a scale of 4 levels, and low level orgasms. So the orgasm is for our health. When we have a high level orgasm, which actually goes through the second, third, or fourth level, so that's good news. When we're having a high level orgasm, this is infusing us with vital energy, energizing, where we're gonna feel invigorated afterwards. If we are finding that we aren't giving ourselves the opportunity, and I'll speak to this actually a bit more just in the second practice that I'm going through tonight, is when you begin to integrate that more sacred practice, this is what moves you into alignment with those high level orgasms. If you're kind of going into the orgasm thinking, I just want to get to the orgasm, and not fully in your full feminine energy as you're going through the experience. So as the feminine energy, and you do flow through also, in any sacred sex practice, whether it's a self-pleasuring practice or not, there's feminine and masculine energy present in your being. But as women, we are holding the majority of our experience in feminine energy, which is receiving energy. And so that means we're moving through the experience in deep connection to all of our senses. That's what makes it so expansive, is that we're feeling from all 5 senses, 6 senses and beyond. So this is a really important piece to look at, that is if also, I don't know, this might kind of be speaking to it. Like I said, this is a really big topic that I wasn't going to go so much into today, but I want to speak to it since it's come up. So look at how you feel after your orgasm. Do you feel tired and depleted? Because this also might suggest and show to you that your experience still is that you're not fully grounded, that you're not fully present, that your mind still might sort of be taking over through the experience. We really want to move out of our mind and into our body. And this is also I think too, this is an indicator, because coming back to that conditioning, this is such a huge piece. Coming back to this conditioning, what we have been told and what we've really had to do as women is bust our butts, right? Bust our butts and work so hard to be able to express our success and the power that we are. And this is not the way that we're meant to do it, but this is the way that society has said that we've got to do it if we want to be up there as CEOs and powerful, successful leaders alongside all the powerful and successful male leaders. And so this is where we get to stop now, and we get to rewrite this and change this energy around it. When we are doing that, and also just by nature, as women, we are the nurturers. And so to get to this point, to bust our butts so hard, we put every other person in front of us. We're going to help every other person before we stop and help ourselves. And this is a conditioning. Thank you, patriarchal systems. You've done a fabulous job in making us think that we are supposed to be putting ourselves last. And especially the conditioning even around pleasure, because we've been conditioned to believe that pleasure is like this really hedonistic practice. Well, I can't put my pleasure first. That's just luxury. That's just, luxury and frivolous and not important. Again, thank you, patriarchal systems, for really nailing that belief in. Because really, our pleasure is top priority. For all those women who are going, oh my God, I just wish that I had more time, right? We've got the time, and we're allowed to gift it to ourselves because it is important, because it is the epicenter of your creation, of your whole life. So I love that piece. And it's, and so these are some really, this is exactly why we're talking about this. See too, where between these three practices, where it feels best for you to come in terms of where your energy feels, because it's just going back to that, healthy diet, healthy amounts of sleep. If you're feeling like it's hard to connect to the orgasm, which has to do, even if you feel like you have the energy to get there, because it's the same thing when we're depressed and anxious. I'm not saying you're depressed and anxious or any of this, but when there's that disconnection, we love food still, but we just still have that loss of appetite. There's that energy required for us to be able to go and get food to consume. So there's still that energy required for us to take that space to access the orgasm. So thank you. That was huge. So coming back around, and let me know, how did that anchor for everyone? If you guys are on YouTube, wherever you're listening in from, leave some comments. How is this anchoring for you? So the stage one is just tender love and care, which means we're not really even going to think about self-pleasuring. This is where you are going to think of practices that are just basic pleasure, simple pleasure practices. So things about like savoring a really divine bath. This is one of the pleasure practices that I bring through in the Rose Codes is talking about the rose bath and the deep reverent levels of ceremony and pleasure that are woven through this practice that really allows us to tap into the core of our being, tap into that pleasure priestess, to be able to be a channel of wisdom, to be a channel bringing through our own pleasure codes. So a simple bath, discovering touch sensations for yourself that feel good. So a really beautiful way here, again, if you're not ready to explore your yoni, if you're not ready to explore the erogenous zones within your yoni, explore the erogenous zones beyond the yoni. So bringing in something delicious like playing with touch sensation, having a scarf or a feather, and exploring just the pleasurable sensation of rubbing it along your neck, the inside of your elbows, the inside of your thighs. This is a really, really safe, powerful way to begin to allow yourself to feel without having to have a full orgasm, but just to be able to bring in a powerful pleasure frequency into your being, right? You're creating that energetic frequency, that sensation, feeling tone, which is what we create from. And this is why I think it's so important that this is really as simple as it is. The more that you can experience high frequencies of pleasure in your life, the more you're going to experience high frequency experiences of pleasure in your life. Bring it into your body so you can bring it into your life. Okay, so exploring touch sensation. The other one is just exploring and awakening to the simple pleasures throughout your day. So really allow yourself to seduce your inner feminine. Seduce her. What does she desire? What would feel good? What have you not been giving yourself that you've been dying to give yourself? So think of all of the ways in which, think of all the things and just in your environment that bring you so much pleasure, that are safe, that are enjoyable, that are sensual to you. So, look at your home temple. What beautiful divine decorations can you bring in? And I love thrift stores. Go to the thrift store, right? You don't have to break the bank to spoil yourself. But what would feel so good to have around you? Think of color, think of texture. I love going to thrift stores and looking for beautiful brass, vases or jugs or things like this. I'm just looking around me, even in this space. I found a beautiful Tiffany and Company plate, one of those decorative plates from the early 20s at a thrift store for $10. And I was like, oh my God, this Tiffany plate is going up in my workspace. Or a beautiful antique lamp, whatever it is that makes you feel divine and delicious, so that that you're witnessing pleasurable experiences as you move through your environment. In the same sense, your body temple, what can you adorn her with? What would feel good? And I'm still talking just go to the thrift store. You can buy, a necklace or earrings for $2 and they could be just absolutely radiant and divine. Um, Food, if you're in right relationship with food, because this could also be something that that is not pleasurable for you. So if you're in right relationship, savor that piece of chocolate, like sink your teeth into that juicy grape or that juicy peach. Allow yourself to find the pleasure in those moments. Get some sexy lingerie, something where you're going to feel powerful and sexy. I think that's what I love about lingerie is it's underneath, right? It's still hidden away quite often, and you get to walk through your day knowing that you just have this you're just emanating sexiness from your being, and nobody else has to know why or where it's coming from. So wearing lingerie, inviting divine, delicious lingerie into your life, and in that same sense, clothes, right? Like really, like wear the clothes that make you feel powerful and sexy. Could even be something as simple as your makeup routine. This is one of my pleasures is, I'm with my kids all day, and in my sweatpants for half the day. And so when I get to stop and put a little bit of eyeshadow and a little bit of mascara on, a little bit of gloss on my lips, oh my God, I feel divine. Or, curling my hair. Like it's like, oh, okay, I feel so good now. And it's not that I don't need makeup or any of that, but it's just a pleasure practice because it's a time I get to give myself where I have my own space, and it raises my frequency. So for me, that's one of my pleasure practices. So that's the very first one, tender love and care. So coming in just with simple pleasure practices into your life that are going to be elevating that pleasure frequency throughout your day. So the second one is sort of that in mid between. So if you're still not ready to dive right into full experience of the yoni, but you're wanting to give her attention, and so this might be really great. Yeah, if you're thinking it's really hard, it takes a lot of energy for me. This is a beautiful place to come in with a yoni steam. I'm so glad that this is landing for you. So coming in with a yoni steam or introducing a yoni egg into your life. I love both of these because energy flows where your attention goes. The yoni egg and the yoni steam are both ways where you can begin drawing the attention of your mind or your body is drawing the attention of your mind to it based on this practice, especially with the yoni egg, because the yoni egg you leave in, and this is powerful. It's going to give you higher pleasure sensations when you are in a self-pleasuring practice or when you are in a pleasure practice with a partner. This is going to strengthen the muscles of your pelvic floor, of of your sacred cave, and this is going to increase your pleasure. It also, some women say that it also will enhance the sacred fluids that you release. And both of those practices. So this is a beautiful way. By holding that yoni egg, you're just stimulating your yoni awareness. Your mind, consciously or unconsciously, the attention is going to your yoni. So it's a really, really beautiful way to beginning this mind-body connection between the mind and the yoni. So this is a beautiful way to begin to get more comfortable without having to dive right into a practice where you're rewriting your conditioned beliefs. You can just begin. It's like, think of it as a form of training your mind, training your body. So it's really, really powerful. So definitely considering the yoni egg. And then the yoni steam I love because, again, it's just such a beautiful way to bring in, this is very similar. It is a TLC practice, but it's very powerful because what I like about this is that you begin with the yoni steam to bring in this energetic or ethereal penetration. So it's a beautiful way to have a very sensual feminine practice. It's great for, it's a health practice because the steam itself is going to be fabulous for the tissue of your yoni, of your womb, but it also invites in this sensation experience of penetration. This is my experience, and I find it really, really powerful. And so I often use a Yoni steam as a beautiful way. As part of my setting ceremony for pleasure practices, not all the time, but quite often if I really want to have a powerful pleasure practice that's really anchored with intention. One of the modules that I teach is orgasmic manifestation. So when I'm really going in for an orgasmic manifestation practice, I love opening that ceremonial space with a Yoni steam. And because I begin to sort of feel just like the energy, that masculine energy of the universe, of the cosmos entering my body and visualizing that. And for me, that's a very powerful experience. It also is a beautiful way because you do begin establishing sacred ceremony around the yoni, right? It is an intentional practice. So it's like the same way in which we roll out our mat before a yoga practice, or if we set our altar, at the beginning of our day or before meditation. It's almost it's that same practice. You're setting up sacred space, a sacred ceremony, and it's specifically focused for the yoni. So it's a way that you are establishing honor, that you are establishing reverence, and with all of these loaded health benefits alongside it. Okay, so that's number 2. So the first one was just the tender love and care, awakening the simple pleasures of your day. The second one is introducing a yoni steam or a yoni egg into your practice. And the third is where, if you're fully ready to go into exploring those erogenous zones, getting to really know your body, getting to really know your yoni, really stepping into that, getting out of your mind and into your body. You are a powerful, divine pleasure priestess, a goddess, powerful, feminine, receptive energy. Okay, and like I said, we've often gone through this lifetime of being in very penetrative masculine energy. So this is where we get to seduce ourselves, where we get to invite ourselves back into, I just want to say, languishing in our feminine energy. So where I would start with this is really getting to know, and again, these are some of the modules that I go through in Sex Ed 101, the sex ed that we never had, and which is really just this re-education, but also just really opening our minds to the depth of awareness of what does our yoni, what mysteries can I dive into? How deep of a connection can I experience with my body? And with that, how deep of a connection can I begin to experience with my life? So exploring your erogenous zones. So to do this, knowing your genital anatomy profile is so, so powerful. Basically, it's like an astrological reading, but through your yoni, which is so, so exciting. You want one of those, right? Everyone, give me a little bit of love. Yes, I want a yoni reading. I want to know what astrological, just inner being, my inner profile through your yoni. Also knowing your erotic blueprint. So knowing, this is just very similar. It's almost like your erotic profile. So what type of a person in the bedroom are you? Which explains, to yourself and to partners, the best way to communicate to you, to initiate sex. The experiences that are going to be most mind-blowing for you during sex. So knowing your genital anatomy profile, knowing your erotic blueprint, and then just, exploring your body. So really stepping into that feminine, sensual, yes, yes, right? We want it. Okay, so stepping into your feminine, sensual experience of sex. So being in that receptive energy, receiving through all of the senses. I always forget one. Taste, touch, sound, sight, smell. So, all of these things that you can bring into your experience, which means, your environment to, again, the different textures that are in place, the sensations, this is why, explore your erogenous zones of your yoni, but also beyond your yoni. different textiles that you could bring in, like having some satin, having some silk, having feathers, having really like divine fluffy blankets or pillows. All of this is going to enhance your experience. And I have this, this is something that I hear women say a lot of the time too. Well, I'm really pretty happy. Like I have a really great sexual experience. And this is often what a lot of people will say too when talking about bringing in other pleasure tools, right? Well, that's just not so natural. And this is totally okay. But to really, or thinking, well, I really want a pure experience. Listen, your pleasure is a technology that God blessed you with so that you could experience more. So your pleasure, your yoni is a tool. It is a pleasure tool. And your pleasure is a technology that allows you to open and connect with the frequency of life that you desire to be in. So when we say, yeah, I think that everything is really good, that's basically like saying, there's nothing more for me to know. I have all that I need. This is not the outlook that we want to move through our life with. There is always more that we can move into. And remember what I was saying, 28,000 years ago, the first lingam pleasure tool was discovered from 28,000 years ago. So your body, of course, you are pure, you are divine. This is it. We are human and we are divine. But I do believe that, yes, there are so many powerful tools that we can bring into the room that perhaps when the human was created, God might not have thought that that was something that we were going to use for our experience. But our pleasure is created for us to know more of ourselves, to know more of our pleasure experience. And so it is safe for us to explore more. There's always more that we can uncover. Always ways that we can have more of an experience. I mean, even if we really were like that person who really likes routine and really likes normalcy, I don't think any one of you can tell me that your pleasure experience is the same every time that you have sex, right? The sensation of your orgasm is going to be different every time. People don't know this, but also when you have your orgasm, your body intuitively gives you the type of orgasm. So again, when I teach, there's 5 different types of orgasm that your body will give you. And there are health purposes attached to each of those orgasms. And so based on what your body needs, your body, if you allow it, if you can open and if you can surrender and be fully in that feminine energy, your body will give you that orgasm that you uniquely need for connecting with your vital energy. It's so amazing. So this is the power of your body. This is the power of your pleasure, right? We're talking about this is just a basic health lesson. And I think this is also a beautiful way to bring in that comfort around pleasure and around sex is we're just talking about your health. This is just another tool to access your connection to divine energy, to access connection to a healthy life, and to access a healthy mindset. This is just a tool, right? How powerful is that? And how safe is that, right? So why wouldn't we be talking about this? Okay, so knowing your genital anatomy profile, knowing your erotic blueprint, knowing your erogenous zones, what feels good, where feels good, and leaning into those depths, right? So work that technology, right? Allow yourself to grow, allow yourself to expand, allow yourself to stretch, right? We were talking about this at the beginning. We resist it But when you can surrender and when you can open yourself to it, it feels so good, right? Just feel into that expansion, those unexpected moments when things just like you never saw coming, right? And this is what happens with the pleasure of a really high, powerful orgasm is when you can just fully surrender and open and be completely in that receptive energy. You never can see the power of that orgasm that's coming, right? And I don't think there's anyone who's going to say, "Oh my God, I wish I didn't just have that powerful, exhilarating, expansive orgasm." Right? And the moment that you allow yourself those experiences, you are calling that in to your physical reality. That is your power. So work that technology. If you're going to dial into any technology, it's time to dial in to the technology of your yoni. So working, and then the other piece with that is, again, because we're talking about technology and because we're working with tools, talking about tools, work with those pleasure tools, right? So just some very basic, and that's another module that that we go into is the divine ways in which to tap into your senses with many of the different pleasure tools. And so, bringing in scarves, like I'd said, different fabrics. So, bringing in silks, bringing in, it could be bringing in linen, it could be bringing in satin, it could be bringing in lace, it could be bringing in metal, it could be bringing in a lot of different things. So feathers, playing with blindfolds powerful because when you take away one of the senses, it heightens the others. So many ways. See, and I said I was just going to talk about 3 ways to welcome pleasure, but look at how expansive this is. And like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is nothing in terms of what we can go into. So, yay! With all of this, I hope that for you, wherever you are in that journey, in terms of comfort, in terms of exploration, in terms of knowing your body, in terms of shifting out of trauma, and moving into pleasure, that you really can feel the right place for you to be right now in terms of aligning with pleasure in your life, in terms of aligning with that pleasure frequency and welcoming in that pleasure tone so that you can just continue to keep building, keep expanding. It's such an expansive practice. And if you are on YouTube and catching this for the first time, I'm so glad that you're here. If you are not in my Facebook group, Women of Magdalene, please come over and join us. I will be streaming these trainings through YouTube from now on, but the replays are all shared in Women of Magdalene and so much more. It's such a powerful group of women. So come on over and join me in that space also where I share a lot more around this whole topic. So that is Women of Magdalene. And other than that, I am so grateful to be in space with you beautiful women who popped onto the Zoom with me tonight. If you know any women, children, sisters, mothers, friends who this resonates with, who it's just like, oh my gosh, there's this divine sister of mine who totally just needs to be a part of this with me, invite her into the group, share this video. And if you are on YouTube and catching this, or if you are here on Zoom and you haven't caught me on YouTube, please head over to my YouTube channel and like and share and subscribe to the channel. It just has dawned on me that, there's a whole world of us here on YouTube, and I want everyone to hear this. So if we can share and all do our parts, and just getting our medicine out there, I would be so, so grateful. And if you desire to hear about any of these programs, if you're going to actually, I'm really interested in knowing more about any of the programs. So there's the 1 year, but then there's also 2 3-month programs, Sex Ed 101, the Rose Codes, and then Empire, which is a 6-month feminine business program. So reach out and let's connect. You are so welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so passionate, and I'm just so happy to have all of you who step up to open your minds and open your hearts and just step into this, full awareness of your being. So sending you all so much love, and I will see you all next week. I need to check what it is again in the group. I do have there's a post in there if you just scroll down a few posts with all the topics going through March. They're always fabulous, and I tend to try and make sure that I'm choosing topics based on the questions that come up. So reach out with any questions too, so that I can, bring through whatever it is that you're looking for. So I'm sending you so much love. Have a beautiful evening or afternoon wherever you are, and I will see you in the group in Women of Magdalene, or I will see you next Wednesday. So much love. Take care, beautiful.